with a great team. Definitely a great team.
Okay.
Come on over. You come on over. You might as well come over. So you're in.
Yeah, so
Should we turn it on?
welcome. Yeah, it's already on.
It's on?
Yeah, sure, it's
Oh,
on.
I'm not ready. Are you ready?
I'm nervous.
Oh.
It's terrible.
Yeah, me too. We're going to talk about the festival and everything.
You want to be in the middle?
Yeah, we're going to talk together
Chinese fire drill?
about the fruit festival in Austria, Festival Frischer Früchte. And we're going to do this in English for obvious reasons. But
Because we don't speak German.
yeah, I can translate everything maybe, but maybe later. And I have the privilege here of meeting up again with the Silverbacks, basically, of the raw food movement, and talk a little bit, have a little bit of a feedback. Sorry?
Yeah, I mean, we're through this. Silver.
Yeah, silver and I guess silver enough. Yeah. So this is like a little sober interview here. Yeah. Let's talk about a couple of aspects about the festival, of what we liked, what could be definitely improved, and maybe also what kind of stuff we can tell people if they're considering coming next year, and if they would love to maybe experience some of the stuff that we've experienced.
Well, every festival is different. Every festival is different. It has its own personality. It's got its own qualities. It generates its own mystique and reputation. They really are all different. Even when the same organizer puts on a different festival, maybe in a different location, it comes out different somehow. The location makes a difference, very much so.
And yet there's a commonality that is there across all of the events that brings us all so close so fast, which I'm sure we'll talk more about.
Yes, so that's already two aspects, location and people, that we can definitely talk quite a bit about. I would also like to talk a little bit about the food, obviously. I mean, this is a festival about food, so we need to talk about that. And these festivals, at least those that I've experienced, and also the one that I hosted now, are also about education and about the talks and about the information and about stories, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. And last but not least, there's also the topic of spirituality, because that is a big part as well about health in general. And interestingly enough, also in the raw food movement, spirituality has suddenly a much more interesting kind of connotation, because people wake up with this kind of food. So yeah, maybe we start with the location. How did you like it? What were the pros? What were the cons? What were the things that were beneficial to the festival? And maybe, yeah, what were some interesting challenges?
The seclusion was wonderful. We had our own space halfway up the mountain, which was great because then my running classes could go up the mountain even further or down. But it was just beautiful. As soon as I arrived, walking towards the building, I see this fire salamander walking across, and I was like, "Wow, this is a really special place." And it was just a remarkable location. The facilities met all of our needs. It was cold outside and warm inside, and so it was cozy inside. And then we were brave and went outside and faced nature, and it was all just wonderful. And the location was definitely very suitable for bringing everyone together, having lectures just in one room, in one space, eating in that one space. Everybody was there in that one place all the time, so there was always someone to talk to and enjoy.
True.
Yeah, I would say magical to have a fruit festival in the Austrian Alps. I mean, we were definitely. It was September and all the mountain peaks were covered in snow. It was beautiful daytime temperatures and downright chilly at night. But we were always comfortable. We were because we were, and I think it's a bit of a bit of a magic trick also that you can run multiple, they call them a multi-purpose room, right? When you can do that and have fitness classes and meals and then educational presentations and then social time, and it's all happening in that one space. And to be able to choreograph that reflects a fair amount of forethought went into it in order for it to work.
Yeah.
It bespeaks a fair amount of forethought.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of the things also were not ideal, I guess. I mean, it was the first time that we had the quantity of people, and also we really used the whole multi-purpose kind of room there. So maybe that's something we definitely can improve upon, and maybe if there's enough, reception, maybe we'll outgrow that facility too. But
You probably will, just on the reputation of this year.
yes, which we're very thankful for, that we did something right. But also that magical place there is something that helped us as organizers to feel more safe, to feel more in tune with the people and with the festival like this. We did it one year before that. We did it for the first time, and we were barely 20 people there. And there already it worked quite a charm. But with the day we had most people was actually 40 people, pretty much exactly 40 people. It was sometimes a bit crowded trying to change everything, but the flip side, just like you say, is the coziness that you only get when it's a little bit,
And everybody, this year especially, everybody was craving closeness.
Yes,
We've been told
yes.
to isolate.
And also outside it was cold, and inside was the fire and all of that.
Well, also everybody knows that it's A, temporary,
Yeah.
and B, a very special week out of the year. I mean, they're not going to have anything like that for the rest of the year. They're not going to have that kind of support, no exposure to cigarettes, alcohol, cars.
Judgment.
Everybody's eating what you're eating. You fit in a way. I always use the phrase like, when we come together like that, we're very strong, and you need to feel that strength. Because when you go back out and you're the solo,
It's cold.
it's cold. Yeah, you're like one strand, but you've been separated from the twine. When we come to something like this, and there's so many people, and they're all, wow, look around, everybody's enjoying the company, they're enjoying the fact that they're there, nobody's complaining. It's something special about festivals. You just never hear complaints. It's really a nice week.
Yes, it's true. It's true. I mean, let's talk about the people. This is maybe a good bridge. You already mentioned, and that was also my experience. Even though this was a very diverse bunch of people that we had, we did have that ability to really have like a group dynamics and to really have some really meaningful exchanges, even though with some people were quite different from a different background. So let's talk a little bit more about specifically those people that were here this year.
Well, it was obvious, even with, as you say, 36 people, almost half of whom I knew before I got there,
Yeah.
that I still couldn't meet the other 18 or 20 or 24 or whatever it was that I didn't know. I couldn't meet them all. There just wasn't. I tried. I really tried. And every time I meet somebody, I go, oh wow, this is the coolest person ever. Oh wow, this is the coolest person ever. And a friend of mine taught me a long time ago that he uses the concept that every person is his master. He can learn something from everybody. I like to connect with people because I do. I learn something from everybody.
Yes.
And I like to be able to share with people as well. So met some really way cool people at this festival. I'm very, very happy with the mix of people that it drew. The number of people who have been to other festivals who still came to yours speaks very well for this festival.
We've been humbled, yeah.
Yeah, something that's kind of almost universal about festivals that I love is that, I mean, it's rare for somebody to just come to a raw vegan festival
Yeah.
just on a whim, just to try something.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens, but pretty much nobody there is totally new to it. It's not a complete surprise. And so everyone's coming there with motivation to improve their health, to connect more with others, and so they come with their guard down, with an open heart. They're willing to learn. They're willing to try new activities, like in Doug's amazing fitness classes, and things like that, things they've never tried before, and they just jump in and do it, and they surprise themselves, and that builds confidence. And you know, as soon as you arrive, everyone's a hugger, and they're just so welcoming. And if someone's not into hugging, they're also exceptionally welcoming in whatever way is comfortable. Everybody respects each other's boundaries and all this sort of thing, but everybody just comes together so easily, even though we did know at least half the people there before, which was amazing because people travelled from all over. People that we've met at other festivals.
That's crazy,
which again speaks volumes for the festival, and it lived up to. It was beyond my expectations even. But yeah, it's being in a space around people like that is when you can grow. You're actually in an environment where you're supported from all the different dimensions of support, which enables you to thrive and grow instead of protecting yourself and trying to survive in this cruel world, you know. It's completely different. It's just a beautiful space to be in, and I love going to every festival I go to, and the Austrian Fruit Festival was an amazing experience.
I'm really happy to hear that, because we really tried to do that, because the first time my mom and me went to the Danish Fruit Festival, that was exactly the impression and the experience that we had. Like, well, it's such a special place because of the people who come there, and the support you get, and also the very diverse and very interested bunch of people, even though they have a completely different opinion, are still free enough to listen to you and actually be interested in your way of seeing the world and seeing everything. And so maybe we transition very well to the topic of spirituality, because maybe different from the festival in Denmark that we visited. Here we were the hosts, and so we also tried to be authentic about our Christianity and about the way that was, things that were important to us. But we didn't want to do it in a way that was overboarding or you know, hard to swallow, as to say, but to be, you know, open, and so that people could feel well. I mean, both of you have obviously in your life had some kind of contact with Christianity before, but you're not in an obviously Christian walk of life. And so it would be very interesting to hear your take of it, and maybe also stuff that you might have heard from other participants to like gauge the reaction a little bit.
I was in a Catholic family, and so I was raised in Catholic schools and had that kind of experience. And then, you know, basically ran away from that as soon as I could. The whole fear-based, you know, thou shalt, you know, the guilt-based life. But I found the festival to be quite a different experience. I've got friends in Australia who are Seventh-day Adventists, so I'm pretty familiar with what that experience is like, and I've given talks to audiences of Seventh-day Adventists in Australia. And it was always a great experience, and I found them to be very open people, rather than trying to tell you what's right. You know, they're just there to get to know you and experience you, and if you're interested in joining in what they do, then great, and if you want to do your own thing, then that's great. And the festival had something beautiful, which was a song before each meal, and that had, you know, Jesus in there and stuff. So that was kind of pretty hard hitting. Like, everyone, you know, was going to sing and had to say Jesus, and that's, you know, if they're not religious, it's kind of like, okay, I surrender or whatever. But it really wasn't like that at all. Like it was a beautiful thing. We were all singing together, and it was a nice song, and it's kind of nice to have, kind of like giving gratitude. I just really appreciated actually that it wasn't a hard push. It wasn't we weren't forced to pray or any kind of things like that. Even though many people there would have read a prayer before and did before a meal and that kind of thing. But it was kind of in their own space and time. And there was information about the history of Seventh-day Adventists, which I found fascinating. Really enjoyed. So yeah, I thought it was just really well presented, great balance, and helped give people knowledge about what it is you guys do and why and what the history is, and with no expectations of anyone converting or donations or like all the usual religion kind of things that a lot of religions have. So I thought you did. It was fantastically well put on, and didn't feel like we were being preached to in any way at all during the festival, from my perspective.
Cool.
I don't tend to use spirituality and religion in the same sentence very often.
It's differently.
I really think of it as a different thing. I'm not anti-religion, and if people want to have a religion, I respect that. And my religious upbringing was different yet again, but I don't think it really plays into the question. To me, you might as well put politics in place of religion in that sentence and say, what about politics and spirituality, or business and spirituality? They're almost non sequiturs, unrelated to each other in the way my mind works.
Okay.
I think of having spiritual experiences. I think of growing spiritually, and conceivably, whatever word a person wishes to use, whether it's God or any of the other dozens of words that could fit in there, might be part of their spirituality, but it may not be.
Yeah.
Certainly know many very spiritual people who don't believe in a God of any kind, but they still believe in spirituality. I think spirituality has to do with us getting in touch with our higher self, and there was plenty of that. There was plenty of that, in spite of the song. No, the song. Okay, so what was the song? One of the things that a lot of people do when they get excited about raw foods is they write a song. And the song almost always comes out very hokey, forced, contrived a little bit.
Okay.
Almost always. This one not so much.
Okay.
This one not so much. As you know, at all of our events, we give a gratitude before meal. And at home, we give gratitude before meal. Both my wife and my daughter and myself, we all give gratitude before we eat. And that gratitude is a wide open thing. It could be for the weather, it could be for our spiritual growth, it could be for something someone did or something that happened during the course of the day that didn't involve them. And I felt that recognizing that spirituality is part of the total experience, that we're waking up to other aspects of ourselves that are very often dulled down when we're eating cooked food, especially if it's animal food. I mean, it's really dulled down your awareness. It has to be, or you couldn't eat that way.
Maybe that too.
You have to be, because you couldn't tolerate yourself.
Yes.
But recognizing that that is part of the experience and giving us a space to do that, I think was a welcome part of the whole experience. And once people realized that it wasn't a brand new thing. Like the very first time you learn the words, there's a song, I Love Myself the Way I Am, and it feels so hokey the first couple times. And then it starts to become, it gains more meaning. With the repetition, it gains more meaning. And so for people who aren't used to that aspect of an experience, or that aspect of being part of their day, and all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, it's part of our day over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Like, and then they said, oh, you know, this is actually very nice. I really appreciate that this happens, and that we create a way to do that without saying, you must think like I think. I'm not saying that. It's like I say in my talks, you know, I'm not going to tell you what to think, but I really want you to think. I'd like to get you to think if I can.
Yes.
So it opened those doors.
To nudge maybe a little bit into thought process. I mean, isn't that the way also the meals work with the raw food kind of festival? You know, that if you would give somebody just one raw vegan meal after 80-10-10, it would probably not be very convincing, because the processes that start in your body, they take a bit of time. But if you've got like 4 days, like 12 meals, stuff changes and stuff happens. And that also represents the journey that people start when they go on that kind of diet, or when they just go in search of health, in search of what is the best way of doing things. Just like with spirituality, here is also with food now, yeah.
And again, many people can do the food in many different ways. It's been presented in many ways at various festivals.
There's
The
endless.
way you did it was very much a show without a lot of tell. It was just the show. Here, come eat the food, and just, it's normal, eat it. There's other places where they do it differently and tell how this was made and what this was and every single ingredient and what the process and how long did it take and how many people, you know, how many of these did we use, and it doesn't have to be any specific way. One of the things that I so much enjoy about the way you do things is it's just very comfortable. It's just, you just present it as normal and natural. And so the food was just put out on the table. Everybody help yourself, have some food, and people did. And they go, oh, this is very nice. This was, for me, the food was spectacular food. I kept being surprised.
Oh wow!
At the quality of the food that came out. Like I wasn't expecting that high a quality of food.
Oh wow!
And we just kept seeing really high quality. I mean, I won't list the foods, but I mean, you know, the papaya was spectacular, and the pears were spectacular. It just, everything that just kept coming out was like, wow, this is really good. Oh, this is really good. Oh, this is really good. And if you don't start with quality produce, it's really hard to make good dishes. But then the dishes were really good too, so we knew it had to be starting from, it had to have a high quality start. And that can only be done by somebody who knows how to access high quality food. So thank you for doing that for us.
You're more than welcome, yeah. And I myself thank my mom for helping me with the kitchen. I mean, she did a hard job. And also Peter, he was a cool guy who got us all that high quality food. So it takes a team.
Yeah, the food was astonishing. I was deeply impressed by your mother's commitment to the kitchen. You could tell how much she cared about what she'd made, and the number of hours that she spent in the kitchen with very few helpers. I mean, people helped, but it was like, I mean, they were working really hard, long hours there, and every meal that came out, I was left fully satisfied after. I was never left wanting. I was never hungry after a meal. It was just amazing, and the quality really astonished me. I'm thinking, okay, we're going to be up in the mountains in Austria. It's going to be freezing cold. What food are they going to have? I mean, it's going to be
October.
Carrots, and I don't know what's going to. Well, how are they going to pull this off? We had the most amazing tropical fruits, like the yellow dragon fruits were exceptional. They're so sweet. Everybody, it was a highlight for everybody that tasted them. Some of the meals that came out, the kind of pasta sauce, the spaghetti sauce kind of. Everyone loved that meal. That was astonishing.
Yeah, we have to credit Louise Koch for that because
Yeah.
the inspiration comes from Let's Cook Raw from
Right.
Louise Koch, who did that sauce first.
A wonderful program.
Slight variation, but pretty much that one, yeah, so
Yeah.
thanks.
Kudos to Louise.
It was, just the quality was amazing, like Doug was saying, and it's difficult to make dishes taste bad when you start with good quality food and combine them well. And,
Yeah.
and your mum, and I wasn't so sure, I knew your mum had a lot of experience with cooked food.
Vegan cooked food, yeah.
Vegan cooked food, and prepared for large groups and things, but she'd never done like a large group for raw vegan before, and so I was like, whoa.
Yeah, she
Let's
did
see what
feel the
happens.
adventure, yeah.
Let's see what happens. And because we've been to many festivals where there were some
Disasters.
flop days where the chef just put lots of salt into the dish, and then it was like, okay, anyone that doesn't eat salt can't eat the meal now, things like that, or there just isn't enough calories because certain food isn't right. And everything you put out was perfectly right. I was just shocked that you could have ripe papaya in such a cool kind of area.
It was the best papaya I've had in Europe
And the flavour was
ever.
amazing. Yeah.
I mean, it was
And the first day of the festival,
Brazilian famosa, yeah.
the first day of the festival, I'm looking at it thinking, those green papayas, they're never going to ripen in this
didn't look
environment.
good. No, they didn't look
And
good.
they were amazing. Well, there was one point where I was eating basically like a green papaya, but inside it was perfectly ripe and had all the flavour in the world. And I still don't understand.
I consider that a present. I consider that a present because they were really hard to the press when we bought them. But we thought like, okay, this is the only stuff that we have. We might as well. And then we just stacked them up near the fire and tried to give them warmth and whatever. And I was like wary and like thinking maybe we should switch meals or something, to have them later on. But then Mum said, no, let's have them. I mean, they're good enough. I tasted a little bit. They're good. And we were sure glad we did because they were really good.
Yeah, they were really good.
And your mum coming out and telling us what we're about to eat before each meal she did a really great job with that. And that kind of makes it a bit more personal. Stops people having to ask a lot of questions or feeling awkward about, I can't eat this, is this in
Yeah.
She just put the information out there and everyone was satisfied, and some dishes went really fast because they were so delicious, and they just went back into the kitchen and made more and whipped it up and brought more out, and it just kept coming and no one was left wanting. It was spectacular.
Glad to hear. Yeah, I didn't realize everything because I was busy with plenty of stuff. But
Yeah, so the food is on many levels. The food is the festival. It's a fruit festival, and people are coming to learn about the food. And we use it as an opportunity to tell them other things, but to show them foods that they haven't had is very important. Very important for people who are coming, especially if they come to a festival before and they go, oh, what's he going to have? And I'm sure for many people, you supplied enough variety and brought out enough surprises, enough quality, and then again, well, don't know if I've ever had that. Don't know if I've ever had that. I heard no complaints about food. And I certainly had none. I got as much as I wanted. I mean, I know Grant, can put down a pretty good volume of food, but I don't hold back, especially when I'm teaching that many classes per day.
Oh yeah, you were
I'm
working so much.
I don't hold back on eating because I'll hit a wall otherwise that I can't come back from. And I was thrilled with the way it was done.
Yeah, I also deeply felt honored that from at least two people that have basically eaten everything before they came to the festival, and then that was the first 4-day stint of maybe even eating vegan for that long. Never mind raw vegan. And so it was very interesting to hear from them that they were actually fascinated. They had lots of lots of doubts before that
Mhm.
coming. Last year at the festival, some people even brought bread, as like
Sure.
a backup and
Just in
stuff.
case.
Yeah, and they forgot about it because it was so good. And then at the end of the day, they were confessing us that they had some bread and it got moldy. So it was fun way of seeing. Okay, they felt good, they had enough, and they were satisfied. So for us, that was definitely one of the most important.
We've been to
things.
festivals where people said they weren't satisfied with the food,
The festivals.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We've been to
Okay.
festivals where they weren't,
Yeah.
and that, like you said,
Oh,
speaks
wow.
highly that it was enough.
And most festivals grow through lots of teething issues, and as they get bigger, they have different issues, and so there's some kind of tragedies happen here or there as they figure out some new problems.
Sure.
But then they fix them, and then it's amazing, and and everyone understands and accepts that no criticisms at all of your festival. It was
Present. We say thank
home
you.
run, as they
With
say.
gratitude. I mean, this is an interesting experience also for me because it's the first time I'm on the other side, hosting and doing the hard job. And actually, once I got there, really enjoying it too, even though it drained me completely. But I really enjoyed doing this, and
Sure, it's great fun.
when we now come to the talks, it also explains a little part of what my big job was. I was doing this festival in English and German, everything at the same time, and so everything was translated either which way. And so that was my main part on the weekend. But yeah, to the
Well, that
talks.
way you don't miss anything.
That way I didn't miss anything. So that's basically the one question where I know most about the talks because I experienced pretty much all of them. Yeah, what was your take? What was your personal highlight, and also what was the thing that you've experienced that was the biggest highlight maybe for the people listening to you?
I enjoyed the whole festival. I love that I get to download some information to people and see the wheels turning, smell the dust burning. When they come to me with questions and they go, "Did you really mean?" And I go, "Oh, you were listening." And that's kind of fun. It's fun to have multiple presentations so that you can develop a relationship with the whole audience, and there's enough people there that, oh, you got this new friend and this new friend, and you know those people already, and all of a sudden you feel very much that it's a personal experience, and so each day of the festival for me is quite different because they're growing while I watch. People are growing while I watch, and that's kind of fun. So you cater the talks at the beginning to beginners, and you cater the talks by the end of the festival. It's not for beginners anymore. They're not beginners. So you're doing a different level of presenting. For me, I think the most fun, and in many ways most meaningful, although obviously I value my education and ability to convey it. But for me, the most meaningful thing was the interview. That let people realize that I'm a real person just like them, and that I didn't grow up eating the way I'm eating now, that I had to make the same changes that we're encouraging them to make, making it easy for them to make, and let them see that it's all of the interviews actually were my